All right. Let's take one more coming in from Brisby, who says, "Dear
Hey, Briz.
Kite Flyer and Pie Floor Eater, a few weeks ago, Hitman 3 got a free update that added 1 and 2 to it, changed the game's name to Hitman World of Assassination, and added a roguelite mode called Freelancer, which is supposed to be end-game content and features maps and added randomness and complications not seen in the main game." Yeah, I was talking about that the other day. The new mode is great. Yeah, so I've heard. I've heard the new Hitman Freelancer is super sick. I've enjoyed it, and I've had fun watching people stream it. I've caught a couple people, however, a couple streamers diving straight into Freelancer with zero Hitman experience, just smashing their face into a wall repeatedly because it's the new thing. A few of the people I watched doing this eventually picked it up, but mostly just failed and then shelved it. Have either of you done something considerable like this? For content creation purposes or in your own time, just trying to get into the new hotness without any foreknowledge of the game? Has it ever happened accidentally? In this case, was the new mode the second option when you started the game? I could see someone easily starting it on accident, if not. All right.
Do I ever get into stuff that I don't know anything about for content creation purposes? Literally every single week.
Yeah, I would say I try to avoid it as much as possible because I do find that shit to be pretty lame most of the time or hilarious. See DMC5 guy, bro, what the f- is this even game? It's Dante dancing.
I don't have an issue with that. Just go into it with a fucking open mind.
Nah, well, this is the thing, right? If Paul Marketing looks at you and says this is the perfect time to get into the Mass Effect franchise, right? You hold to that, then you're gonna have a whole lot of people that are just like, yeah, new hotness, jump on it. This is what we do. Who cares what's happening or why? If you have if you have a kind of like, not respect, but if you just don't really give a about the narrative of the things you're playing really in general, because usually it's like, I don't know, usually it's background noise, it's sports or it's something you just generally ignore, you're not really paying attention to it that much, it's meant to just serve a purpose as fluff on your stream or so, then yeah, like that type of person I can see just like not giving a going, what's popular, what's trending, let's go into that. I'm going to try to avoid it when I can. Sometimes if I can't avoid it, I'll usually like either embrace the fact that I know that I don't know a lot, and or there's a chaotic reason why this is happening. So Yakuza obviously is a franchise I want to start playing, and I have, but it's been very clear and open about like how playing that game beginning to end and doing each one of them is like a prohibitive thing to do. So there's an explanation behind like how I'm going about it, you know? I'm trying to think of if there any other examples like that. Like, for example, with Nier, I went into Automata knowing that there was loose connections at best, but not really important ones initially. And then I was like, well, I'm still going to go do my homework, and caught up on all of the original Nier and all of the Drakengard stuff and all of the whatchamacallit, yeah, all of the Drakengard stuff and the summaries. So I felt like, okay, I'm gonna do some prep work. I'm not gonna go and sit down and get through them. But Clem's did a pretty good job with those videos, priming the situation. So sometimes you can kind of go into it doing your best at it. But
I have to say, I disagree with everything you just said extremely strongly.
okay,
I get it, and I used to think that way very, very much. I used to be like, I can't start this TV show because I haven't watched all of the TV shows leading up to it in the 60s.
mm-hmm.
Right? I have done so much research and so much playing up to the thing and so much like prep for the game that I really want to play which leads to me just fucking, how do I put this? Just abandoning it. I think back to there was an excellent take by now Chris Wolfhart, formerly Mr. Fields, which is when you're looking at something that you're like, I would like, oh, that video game looks really cool. Do I have to play the prequels to understand it? And people go, yeah, there's a lot that you would get out of it by playing the prequels. And then they go, but I don't want to play the prequels. I want to play the new game. Anything other than just playing the thing you actually want to play will result in you just completely abandoning it for the vast majority of cases. Let's take Witcher 3 as an example. Is there an enormous amount of like continuation and appreciation for playing Witcher 3 if you've played Witcher 1 and 2? Absolutely. If I were to tell you, hey man, before playing Witcher 3, you should play Witcher 1 and 2. It's really important. People will play Witcher 1 for about 10 minutes and then fucking quit and leave. So I am currently engaged in that exact mentality with Xenoblade. I don't really like Xenoblade 1 and 2 and the way they play. I played Xenoblade 3 and really liked the way it plays. However, I know that events from 1 and 2 are going to be tangentially or somewhat involved in that storyline. And I'm trying to work past the way my brain works to just fucking go ahead and do it. Yakuza, which you mentioned, is a really great example. Yakuza now has three starting points. It will soon have like 4. 0, 7, Judgment, or Lost Judgment, Ishin, because it's completely separate, and then later with Kiryu's side story, which is like a renewal of his character, right? As somebody who went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then to 7, the amount of like stuff that I got from going through all those games and then going into 7, oh, and 0 also, was like relatively minor compared to the fact that I knew that Kiryu existed.
Okay, so I'm gonna forget things as this goes because I was making notes and I kind of forgot some of the stuff. But the main thing, so okay, the stuff like Witcher, for example, is absolutely a great example because from everything you've described about that over these years, the
Witcher
impression
is poison.
The impression I got is like you don't have to, right? Now, when somebody asks, so that kind of tells me some series, some games, some franchises are going to be easier to go back to than others. If it's very difficult to do so, you might have a hard time with it, right? But when somebody asks, like, do I have to go back to X to get into Y? That question is very open, and that can be like 2 things I can think of. That can be will I be lost completely in Y if I don't know anything about X? Or there can be will X enhance Y and its highlights, but Y on its own is still fine?
Yeah, those are the 2 main questions, right?
That's what you're trying to get out of it.
Mass Effect 3 is like nonsensical if you did not play 1 and 2.
Right.
Like, it is baffling. Like, who the fuck is Garrus? Why does he love my cock so much?
So when you're describing the cases for yourself and how you've gotten into those and the amount that you're looking into it and then like bouncing off of the thing, even though you did all that prep and such.
This is not a JoJo part skipping discussion.
It's not a JoJo part skipping discussion. However, my thing with that is I know myself enough to know how I want those questions answered. I know what I enjoy, right? So when I see that thing of like, oh, statistically, if you read the last page of a book, it actually amplifies and makes your experience better and whatever. I say, fuck you. I know myself. I know that I hate that. I know that I experience the thing less enjoyably.
Every goosebump I ever read.
Right? I if that applies to you, then that's nice. But I know myself to know that makes my experience worse. Furthermore, I know that like I'm someone who's willing to put myself out in terms of context by going into something a little older and more something that you don't necessarily have to get into. I'm willing to go do that in some cases because I know that I enjoy the little tie-ins, the little links and stuff. They're minor in some cases. For me, though, I really enjoy those things. So I put an emphasis where personally I'm going to try to maximize what I would enjoy out of this, right? Mm-hmm. Going into The Witcher 3 is something I want to do, and I, can say I would plan to do in the future at some point. But, like, I know that, like, based on what I'm hearing about that, I would not go through and try to play one or two, but I would definitely try to go and, like, watch them. I would try to go in and YouTube. Yeah, I would try to get as much context as I could going into it, like with Nier, so that I could fully enjoy when I get to that point. And I know that, like, if I had not known about the tie-ins in Nier's case, it would have still been a very good game, but the little bit of flavoring that it added was enough for me to really emotionally love the returning characters, the returning elements. Those were the strongest bits that I'm like, oh, fuck, the history of what that means is something that is more important to me than it might be to someone else that's like, it's not worth my time.
As somebody who played through the original Nier and all 4 endings, right, and watched every Clem's video repeatedly for all the Dragon Guard information I needed, and then went into Automata, I was overwhelmed with the feeling that in terms of foreknowledge, I had completely wasted my time. And that everything that I care about in Nier Automata has absolutely fucking shit all to do with Drakengard or Nier.
Okay. See, that's where we're different. I was super happy that I did that. I was super happy that I did the backstory and that I have a understanding of, like, the through line of this universe, and even at the places where it's just a single thread and then we connect to this whole other world, I still find that kind of fascinating, See,
here's the thing, though. Like, let's take Automata, for example. Nihilistic giant robot asses were not featured in Nier or Drakengard. And, in fact, none of that led to giant, sad robot butts. Therefore, what was I doing? Like, Clem's videos are great, and I'm glad that I watched them. And it is nice to learn about an old, obscure franchise that I don't want to play.
Yet at the same time, Accord as a reference to a character that is going to be around, that's still around at this point. Oh shit, that's nuts. She's still around. Devil and Popola.
It means nothing.
No, very little. But it's still like it was still something that I was like, oh, that's cool. Like for me, when I saw that, I was like, oh fuck, I liked her and the role she played in the past. That's cool. That there's a little thing there. This is a plus. This is a plus to me, right?
Hold on. I wanna. Somebody mentioned, Pat, that apparently I said that this was vital back in the day. I have changed my mind. I am starting to change my mind on a lot of this. Xenoblade is the one that's doing it to me. Because my desire to know everything about Xenoblade before I play Xenoblade 3 is resulting in me not playing Xenoblade 3 at all, ever. Because I keep going back to start Xenoblade 1 and going, I don't really want to play this.
Mm-hmm. So, if you are running into this problem in that way, then that is you making a value judgment of your time feeling wasted for something that is effectively not a payoff, because you're going, well, if I'm putting in all this pre-work, there should be a direct relation that is going to matter. I'm not going in with that. I'm going in with the simple thing of, like, I'm just kind of like, what is the setting this is being built on? And in Nier's case, I knew it was going to be tangential, but I just want to know where the thread leads, right? And in the same way that there's that kind of fucked up aspect of, like, oh, like, the entire virus could have come from that initial first corruption of the Drakengard ending, where the above Tokyo, this is where that outbreak came from. It was actually your first it was the Red Eyes thing came from that Drakengard ending, right? That same sort of, like, through line was one where, when Devila and Popola are doing what they do, that shit hit. And it,
Well, I
and it
want to
hit
make it really clear.
in a way.
I'm not saying that there is no value.
No. It's the difference between is it worth it or not for the effort of going through it, right? Mm-hmm. And the amount of time it would have taken to go back and fully and get Devila and Popola is asking more of people than their time and schedule would probably have. It's if you want respect for your time, again, I super understand it, which is why I would not necessarily give it unconditionally as a recommendation, but I would say for me, I fucking loved that part. Mm-hmm. And thinking about that idea of this is where they got to after everything from when we last saw them, and this like suffering journey of like repentance over time was a massive quality add. And I felt like, man, I'm happy for that payoff, but that's how I'm going to consume a story. I'm going to put out extra time on that for this little thing because a little bit like that might make me like it that much more.
What do you know about the Trails of Cold Steel series?
Nothing.
So, let me tell you. I saw the Trails of Cold Steel series and went, oh, that seems like a fun series of RPGs. There's 4 of them. Okay. Well, should I start at 1? To which the answer is no. Start 8 games earlier at Trails of Heroes in the Sky. I'm like, but why? Well, because it's a continuous story happening simultaneously in multiple countries. To which I then discover that they're trilogies, and the ending of each trilogy spoils the endings of the other trilogies.
Because they're on the same timeline.
Only to find out that 3 and 4 are being treated like the Avengers Endgame of that series, which includes every character that's ever been in it, that you won't know who any of them are, because you didn't do it. Only to then be told, yeah, dude, I started at 3. I don't know who these people are. It's fine. The story is totally clear. At which point leads to the situation of, I will never play any of these 10 games.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where to start. I don't know where the fuck is meant. Like, it's so fucking confusing.
It is. And what you're describing sounds like someone playing Phantom Pain going, okay, guys, who's Big Boss? And
Phantom Pain, at the very least, has the decency to start pretty far backwards in time.
And the insanity of franchises that are told over the course of fucking with a timeline back and forward in 12, 13, 14 games is one that is like, there's no way to just summarize the journey and give you everything you need to know. There'll be things where they'll be like, hey, we put in a fucking timeline in the game. You can read that for your best summary. Hey, we hired a YouTuber to fucking put together an explanation of our lore over the course of 6 or 7 episodes. Go watch that if you want to catch up to figure out what the fuck the backyard is. But in the meantime, you can go in and read all this if you want to, but if you don't, okay, all right, that's fine. Some series are way better about it than others, and that's okay. I just know that every time that question comes up, like, the answer is really just, what kind of person are you? Are you somebody who gets frustrated over the time wasted, or is it like, are you someone that, like, will you like the little things even if they're very slight?
You know what my favorite version of this question is? And I know you like it as well because I've seen you answer it. Hey man, I've been looking to start to get into Final Fantasy. Where do I start? Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Fucking throw a dart at a fucking wall.
That's a great answer.
Doesn't matter.
That's a great answer for a franchise to have.
You know what? A slightly lesser known that I appreciate? The fucking East series. Do you know what happens in East? Mm-hmm. Well, there was a shipwreck, and now Adol's on a fucking new island that has problems. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's other shit.
Zelda. I want to get into Zelda. Where should I start? Play a Zelda game. It doesn't matter which one.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
They're designed with that exact same idea in mind. Is you just play them, and they're going to be a thing, and whatever connects them barely matters. It's more about what you recognize as enemies and weapons and meh. That's great when a franchise has that ability. Of course, the continuing narrative over time is a unique type of thing that can be really awesome with a massive payoff when it's a long journey. Not every story can nor should be that. But yeah, you need a real clarifier though on that question, which is just, are you asking if you're going to completely be lost, or are you asking if this will be fine, but this will sprinkle some seasoning on your experience?
It's a really good, a topical, timely thing to this discussion. So I was looking, Co Carnage was tweeting about it, because Destiny Lightfall is coming out next week, which is the new Destiny expansion. And he described that, hey, I would really be able to get into Destiny, but there's currently no main quest in that game that will tell you what is happening in the game at all. It's been seasonal content and expansion content for 3-4 years, and the original shit is gone. It's in the vault. There's no way to get into it now. You must be okay with jumping in fucking knee deep into shit you don't know about to shoot the bad man.
Right. One of the fucking great ones that everyone clearly wants an answer on is when it comes to fucking Kirby. Where do I start, right?
Oh, dude, Kirby, it's a marshmallow, man.
The best part about the where do I start Kirby flowchart is you start at Kirby Superstar, but the reason why has nothing to do with lore. It's because that's the funnest one with the most game in it. And it has all the different modes and styles of game that are going to be used in every other Kirby game. So it's if
no one has ever said, other than, where do I start with Kirby? Who is asking that?
If you go look at getting into Kirby as a flowchart, there's literally a graphic out there that describes what I'm talking about. This is already established. Always start with Kirby Superstar is kind of a little meme. And now you got a deluxe for that matter. But the point of this has nothing to do with the lore or the story or any of that dumb shit posting shit, because the bits with the story are always these little background when you're they're so fucking over there while you're going in the foreground. But if you want to play Kirby games and enjoy them, the thing you probably want to figure out is what part. Kirby has a lot of things in its gameplay. Which part do you find the most fun? And Kirby Superstar lets you find out which part of the gameplay of Kirby you like the most, and then you can play games that are more about that thing you liked as opposed to the other things you didn't as much. It's a gameplay teaser.
I just saw in the chat the most insane take I've ever seen about this discussion. We have a guy in here. I am playing Baldur's Gate 2 right now. Never played the first one. That's legitimately so crazy, because that is that's one game split into two games. That's literally like the first chapter and the second chapter. And they just went, now fuck it, Baldur's Gate 2 is better, which it is. It is. I'll play that one. And I'm so fucking jealous of that. The amount of shit that I haven't watched or read or gotten into.
Mm-hmm.
It's I got to do the research for I got to know everything's the people that go, hey, fuck it, that Marvel Endgame is happening. I guess I'll see what that's about. Just wandering into the theater, those fucking saints.
It's not a goblin for me. It's me knowing myself and knowing how I like media, and I know the times where I watch it and then I read something afterwards and I go, oh, that makes me like this a bit more now. I realize I know I would enjoy it more knowing it beforehand. That being said, there's another aspect to this question, and we don't have to fucking go too much further on it, but the part where we're talking about people who jump on the hot thing because it's hot, right? Yeah. This has been the entirety of our discussion over fucking the last decade has been that, and I represent the antithesis of that to my detriment, right? When you play the hot thing Yes, it's more. Yes, it's more of a shallow decision, but it's also an economic one in which people will tune in. Eyeballs will check out the new thing because they too are curious about the hot thing. So, like, you can choose to stand on the like, no, I'm gonna play like not just because it's hot, but it's because it's a better playthrough and or a good thing or a thing I want or care about, whatever the reasons are.
Yeah.
And all of that will fly in the face of cool. Good luck growing your channel, your base, your whole thing, right? There's a part of it where if you don't do that to some degree, you're just being bad at your job. You're being a bad YouTuber. You're being a bad Twitch streamer to some degree. If we lived in a world where the attention economy was not built in this way, I would love to just stand on that aspect of it and keep it pure, quote unquote. But every once in a while, when the stars align, guess what? The hot new shit is also Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah.
So there's no problem jumping on that. And that's what I guess I try to aim for whenever possible, you know?
So for me, the most recent example that I can come up with is Dark and Darker, a game that I went to the Steam page, looked at it, went, I don't get it. People won't stop talking about it, though. Everybody's talking about it. People in my Discord, my friends are playing it right the fuck now. Fucking, I don't fucking know, but I don't get this fucking shit. All right, let's install it. Let's fucking roll. Let's give it the old college try. And as long as I feel like I gave it like a fair shot, I feel satisfied. Even if I bounced right the fuck off it, which I totally did in this particular instance.
I feel less satisfied simply because like I'd rather do the research in advance, and then if it turns out the game is one I'm going to bounce off of, I'll just never start it, right? And if it is something I would consider, then I want to go all the way through, because in the future, I know how it would feel if I was going through something and then it just stopped abruptly, and I really hate that feeling. I know as well that if I were to start and stop things all the time, constantly, it would be objectively like the quote-unquote healthiest thing to do for the channel. But it would bother me personally, you know? So I just don't see myself ever really fully going that way on it. But I see like trying to come up with compromising ways to like play games that are capable of being, you know, played in short bursts or things like that. But yeah, I'm not running things the right quote unquote way. I know that, you know?
Hey, Wooly, how far are you in Hi-Fi Rush?
The chapter after Corsica.
Okay. I just saw like how much of Xenogears do I need to play to understand Hi-Fi Rush? which is like the absolute most fringe extreme variation of this discussion.
Right. Yeah. And you know, this is also doesn't take into account to the modifier that is I have somebody that comes over and our mutual schedules being free is when I can play games, as opposed to literally just hit the button anytime, you know?
Like me, I'll stream, and then I locked myself out my fucking front door, fucking 2 a.m.
One person
woke
can
everybody up trying to get back in.
One person can do a whole lot more than multiple people can in terms of just the scheduling ability and logistics, which is why like the joke from back in the day about DSP outlives us all. DSP outlives the old channel. DSP, like, you know, continues, and it's like, yes, that is true. However, if you think about it for more than 2 seconds, he's also one person who has to hit a button and and then he's there.
Yeah, like when you
like
describe like DSP will out survive us all, it's like as long as he doesn't literally
die. Like that's the
Yeah,
you know, like for us it's like, okay, yeah, we're not recording anymore, you know, but like a single individual just needs to wake up in the morning and continue to exist, and therefore that will be, you know, like succeeding. So it's just a bit of a different thing, and I'm like, right, this comes up here whenever I'm like, what is the fastest I can get through a game that has a lot going on? Super long sessions twice a week. Okay, what's that going to amount to? A fraction of what you can get through by doing 8 hours a day for a solid 5 days straight. You know, like there's a hard cap on the amount of progress I can make in a thing with somebody else. So all of that keeps bubbling in my mind, and it will continue to do so, and it will always be an anxiety-inducing thought as I continue to do this gig. But I guess my willingness to jump in the middle of it without knowing fully what's going on is like, if I can go back and watch a video or watch a long play of it, I'll at least try to get that done. And, you know, I'll do some due diligence if possible, you know? And I think hopefully that's reasonable, I think.
You should just fucking load up Witcher 3 and fucking go. Absolutely no foreknowledge at all.
Right. See, now, if I did that and then 3 sessions later I just stopped and then nobody knows why or what's going to happen to it, how does everyone feel about that? Like, don't get hype over the, oh shit, WoolieVersus Witcher 3. Get hype over, where did Witcher 3 go? What happened to it? Right? Yeah. That's like tell me, see me then. See me on the other side of this, right? No. You want to know that it's a thing that at the very least I can see it. I want to know it's a thing I can see it through. So
for real though, for coverage thing, don't play Witcher 3. The game is like 180 hours long.
Yeah. Well,
and that's for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of really good games are also very difficult to LP because they're long, and I'm still figuring that out. Sometimes I really, really want it though, you know? Sometimes it's like a Front Mission 3 where I'm just like, damn, I really, really want it. And some people will be like, no!
Fucking big, dude!
I'm like, I know. Maybe
big
they're...
as fuck.
Yeah. And then that's where I start to go, like, maybe there's a hybrid system. Maybe I do some offline and summarize sessions for people. Maybe I do some way to split it. You know, I did the Death Stranding catch-up sessions before each one, or Elden Ring. I did a last time on Elden Ring session so that like Reggie could see what I did in the meantime, and it was mainly not too much map expansion, just trying to get, you know, stuff done. Like maybe there's ways to go about it to mitigate it, but when I really, really want to, you know, that overrides the other stuff. Anyways, I'm fine with that.
As long as you give it an honest take, honest chance. Like, I remember hopping into League of Legends despite not being up to date on the League of Legends lore.
Yeah, I think my Runeterra run was, you know, I think it was okay. I don't think I hit any lore walls on that.
Well, that girl's a pirate. That's what you need to know. That's